because it's 1 o'clock, I'm going to make a start because I know you're all very, very excited to hear about immigration. Yes, I can see the excitement on your faces. Before I start, this talk today is really aimed at students who are here on a Tier 4 visa. If you're from the EU and you don't have a visa, then you don't need to be here. So you are allowed to get up and run away if you'd like. I won't judge you at all. The other thing I'd like to point out is that if you came to my talk on Thursday and Friday of last week in International Orientation, this is exactly the same talk. So again, you don't need to listen to it again if you don't want to. But I know it's quite exciting, so, you know, 2 times a charm, I think, sometimes, no? So my name's Ruth Sweeney. I'm the Head of International Student Advice here at King's College. And my job really is, I have a team, there's 7 of us in total, and our job is to look after international students studying at King's College London. I sometimes do this talk with my colleague, Anthony Tucker. He is the Head of Visa Compliance. And the 2 of us have slightly different roles here at the university. I like to say that I'm the good cop and he's the bad cop, but I'm mostly saying that because he's not here to defend himself. Basically, my role, as I said, is to make sure that you're all here, you're all enjoying yourselves and you're supported during your stay. Ant's role, slightly different. His role is to protect the university's Tier 4 sponsor licence, so to make sure the university is complying with the immigration rules. So he protects the university, and I hopefully try to protect you. And that's why we give this talk to you guys, so you know what your rules and responsibilities are around your visa. Before I start talking about some really exciting topics, as you can see on my nice list here, put your hand up if you've got a Tier 4 visa. Excellent. Now I'd like you to give yourself a round of applause for getting that visa. It's not an easy thing to do. Okay. Getting a Tier 4 visa to come to the UK, as you have all experienced, is a very complicated thing to do. I'm not sure how many of you read front to back the 97-page Tier 4 policy guidance. Ah, yes, 1, 2, a few, yay! I've definitely read it, but, you know, it's a big, hefty document, and I don't expect you all to have read it, and that's why we talk to you and why I give you this information. So, unfortunately, I do have to give you some serious information today. The first thing, my team is the only team at King's College London who is regulated to provide immigration advice to you. So please don't, if you've got any questions about your visa or about your immigration status in the UK, please don't speak to your tutors or to your friends or to people working in the cafeteria or anyone else. If you've got questions about your visa, come and speak to my team. We love reading that 97-page document. Absolutely love it. Sometimes. And we're the only ones who are regulated to do that. We attend a lot of training, so we're the experts. Come and talk to us. So you all put your hand up to say you've got a Tier 4 visa. How many people, can I just see a show of hands, how many people have already collected their BRP, their biometric residence permit? Brilliant. So quite a lot of people in the room. Some of you may not have collected your BRP permit because you have made an application in the UK and you're still waiting for that to be delivered to you. I can see a few familiar faces from our pre-sessional programme in the room. Some of you may have applied for your visa outside of the UK, arrived in the UK, but not yet collected your BRP because it's not ready yet. If that is you, please don't panic. Unfortunately, the UKVI do have delays sometimes. You are supposed to collect your biometric residence permit within 10 days of arriving in the UK. But if you go to collect your BRP and it's not available, either through us or from the post office, your collection point, don't panic. we would suggest that the 10 days start from the point that that BRP becomes available to you. So I have a few messages in this talk, and one of them is about your BRP and how easy it is to lose. You will have all noticed, if you've got your BRP, that it's about this big, conveniently fits in your wallet or in your pocket, and is incredibly easy to lose. If you lose your BRP, it is both expensive and troublesome to get a replacement. This is why we give you, if you collected your BRP from us, we give you this beautiful wallet. Looks surprisingly like an Oyster card holder, but don't put your Oyster card in it, put your BRP in it. Put your BRP together with your passport and keep them safe at home. Do not take them outside unless you absolutely have to. If you really want some ID, maybe you want to buy some alcohol, or you want to do something which requires you to prove that you're over 18 or over 25 or whatever, then what I'd suggest is either if you've got an international driving license, you should be able to use that, or there are a number of international student ID cards that you can purchase on the internet, which you could use as ID. They cost a little bit of money, but they are still cheaper than the cost of replacing your BRP, because your BRP is your visa. So it's really, really important. Keep it safe. One of the things I would suggest with your BRP, before you put it away safely, is that you do check the information that's listed on it. So those of you who don't have your BRP yet, you can check it once you get it. But really, one of the things I have to highlight is that the UKVI do sometimes make mistakes, I'm sorry to say. So you do need to make sure that your BRP has all of the information correct on it. So it's got your name spelt correctly, you've got the right nationality, your date of birth is correct, and that the length of your visa looks correct. And I'm going to tell you a bit more about that in a minute. One of the most important things to understand about being in the UK on a Tier 4 visa is that your stay, your ability to be in the UK and study, is absolutely categorically linked to the exact course that was listed on your CAS and the exact institution that sponsored your visa. So you should have all been issued a CAS with a course title and a course level, and that CAS was issued by King's College London. If you wanted to change anything about your course or change anything, change your institution, then unfortunately that would affect your visa and your ability to stay here. This is why I come and talk to you, because actually any changes you want to make, you need to come and talk to my team so we can talk to you about how that might affect your visa. In a lot of cases now, unfortunately, if you want to make any changes, you are required to go home to your home country and apply for a brand new visa. So that's why it's very, very important. If you want to make any changes, you come and have a chat with us. So for those of you that applied outside of the UK, you should have all had your entry clearance vignette, your entry clearance sticker, which is usually valid for 1 month, which allows you to travel to the UK. That is not your visa, it's just your entry sticker. As I said, the BRP, that easy to lose document that you've all got, that is your visa, so keep that one safe. If there is anyone sitting in this room right now who has a general visitor visa, you cannot study on that visa. So if you are sitting there right now thinking, oh my God, that's me, please come and talk to me at the end of this session so we can work out what your options are. So I mentioned earlier about making sure you check your visa to make sure the visa length is right. For those of you, can I have a show of hands, who's here on a 3-year or 4-year undergraduate degree? Yeah, quite a few. Is anyone here on a 1-year master's programme? Excellent. We got any PhD students in the room? Awesome, thank you. So if you're here on a programme that's more than 12 months in length, then you should have a visa which covers you for the full length of your programme, plus an additional 4 months. If there is anyone in the room who's on a foundation programme, so a course that's less than 12 months, you should have an extra 2 months on the end of your visa. As I say, check your BRP, make sure that your visa length is correct, because if it's not, we'll have to try and get that amended if we can. The other thing that you should check, and I'm going to talk about working and what you can and can't do in a moment, but you should check that your visa has the correct work hours listed on it. So if you're doing an undergraduate, master's, PhD program, your visa should state that you can work up to 20 hours per week during term time. If your visa says 10 hours and you're doing an undergraduate or master's program, then you need to come and talk to us so that we can get that fixed. If you are doing a foundation program, then it will just say 10 hours and that's correct. The other key piece of information that should be on your visa is this beautiful number at the bottom here. This is the King's College London sponsor licence number. Like I said earlier, your visa is tied to not only the programme you're studying, but the institution that sponsored you. So if you don't have the King's licence number on your visa, if you have a different university's licence number on your visa, then actually you shouldn't be studying with us. So there's a problem and we need to try and get that fixed for you. So again, if you don't have that number on your visa, do come and talk to us. Sorry, I can see a few people writing that down. Very important information. I don't expect you to remember it. I won't test you later. So as I keep saying, unfortunately, the UKVI do make mistakes. So if you look at your visa and you think for any reason there is a problem on your visa, then what you need to do is you need to report that to the UKVI within 10 days of collecting it. So some of you will have collected your visa last week. So it's really important that you do have a look at that visa and make sure that it's accurate and correct. We do sometimes have students who are here on a 3 or 4 year undergraduate programme and they come to us right at the end of their studies and they say, oh no, my visa, it doesn't have the 4 months on the end. If you come and see us in 2 or 3 years' time, we may not be able to get that fixed for you. So that's why it's really important to get that checked now. In order to report an error with your visa, if you've got a BRP, then there's a form that you fill out on the UKVI website, which is the link just up here. But if you're not sure, or you're not sure maybe if it is an error, then contact us. My team have a very particular email address for issues with visas and also police registration, and that's this email address here, visasupport@kcl.ac.uk. So if you do have any questions or if you think there might be a problem with your visa, you can always contact us and we'll try to help as well. How many people in the room think that they need to register with the police? A few, yeah, not many. I'm not really sure why our government has this rule. The only thing I suggest is it's something political. I know that there's collaborative agreements with certain countries where if we go there, we have to register with the police. So when you come here, you have to register with the police. But the point is that the UK government has decided that certain nationalities, if you're here for longer than 6 months, you must register with the police. If you're not sure if you need to register with the police or not, one of the things I would suggest you do is check that entry vignette, the sticker in your passport, to see if it says police registration within 7 days. Or your decision letter. So if you applied in the UK and you got your decision letter that said your visa was granted, that would also explain to you whether you need to register with the police. If you are required to register with the police, you're supposed to do that within 7 days of either arriving in the UK or getting your new visa. Now, there's a small problem with this time frame, and that is that in the whole of London, there is one teeny tiny police office that deals with police registration. And that teeny tiny police office has about 5 members of staff working in it. And that's for the whole of London. It's not just King's College, it's not just students, it's for the whole of London, which is mad. So, we had a few years ago a big problem where some of our students actually had to queue for 3 days, with their tents because they couldn't get into the office because the poor policemen were working round the clock to do that. So what we do now is we have what we call an interim process. So we help the police out. We actually collect the documents from you and we give you an appointment where you can just go to the police office on a particular day at a particular time and collect your police registration certificate. So we would very much urge you to do this because it will avoid you having to queue for a very long time, and it also helps out those lovely police guys who, are working very hard to create those certificates. Again, if you're not sure if you need to register with the police, you can always contact us. Or if you think that your visa, maybe you're from India who don't need to register with the police, but your visa says that you do, and you think there's a mistake, contact us on visa support and we can have a look at that and let you know if there's any problems. So this next bit is usually the bit that Ant, the bad cop, does. And this is very much about our responsibilities as a Tier 4 sponsor in the UK. We have an obligation to make sure that everyone who's studying with us has the correct immigration permissions to do so. So we need to keep a copy of your current immigration permission and your passport on our records so that we can prove to the UK government that we're sure that you've got the right immigration permissions to do so. For anyone in the room right now who's submitted a new application, so a Tier 4 visa extension from within the UK, we can register you as long as you've submitted your next visa application and you can prove that you've paid for that online and that you've posted your documents. For everyone else, hopefully, you've got your visa and your BRP, and then you would show those to us so that we can register you. As I say, we're a Tier 4 sponsor, and we have to maintain our sponsor licence in order to make sure we can bring all you lovely students in every year. And we have a lot of responsibilities as a Tier 4 sponsor, and there's a lot of things that we have to report back to the Home Office about. So we have to tell them if we've issued you a CAS and you've got a visa, but you don't register with us, you don't turn up for registration, we have to report that to the UKVI. If we do that, they cancel your visa, so your visa is no longer valid. We also have to tell them if you decide to withdraw from your programme, or if you take say a year-long break from your programme. Again, they would cancel your visa and you'd have to leave the UK. So it's all very closely linked with your visa being tied to your course and the institution that you're studying at. One of the other things that we have to tell the UKVI is if you're not attending your classes. So it's very important as a student sponsored under Tier 4 that you do attend all of your taught sessions. For those PhD students in the room, you need to attend your supervisory meetings. So you need to keep engaging with your course. Now obviously, I know that people get sick, people can't always attend absolutely everything. In that situation, if you're not very well, if you can't attend a class for whatever reason, the best thing for you to do is to contact your department, maybe your personal tutor, maybe your programme leader, and just let them know what's happening. The absolute worst thing you could do is just completely disappear, for many reasons, not just because of this. But if that happens, what we would have to do as a sponsor is we'd have to report to the UKVI that you haven't been showing up for a few weeks and we don't know where you are. If that happened, again, the UKVI would cancel your visa and you'd have to leave the UK. So it's all quite serious stuff, I'm afraid. Not the most lively and cheery topic after lunch. One of the other very serious things that we do have to report to the UKVI is if we know that a student has breached the conditions of their visa. So there are certain conditions attached to your Tier 4 visa. One of them is registering with the police within 7 days if you're one of the nationalities. Another one is the working restrictions, so 20 hours per week during term time. And another one is attending your classes. So if you breach the conditions of your visa, so for example, if we find out that you've been working more than the 20 hours per week, we are obliged to report that to the UKVI. We cannot not report it. If you breach the conditions of your visa, the likelihood is that your visa would be curtailed, so cancelled. You'd have to leave the UK. But a breach of conditions can also lead to a ban to the UK. So it's very, very important that you don't breach those conditions. So we have our responsibilities, which means you have your responsibilities. You've got your Tier 4 visa. You did a lot of work to get that. Now you have a lot of work to keep it, unfortunately. One of the things that you are responsible for is keeping us up to date with your contact details. So we have an obligation to make sure we have your most up-to-date contact details if the UKVI ask for them. So what that means is you need to keep us up to date with your contact details. You can do that very, very easily just on your online student records. You can just update your new mobile number or your new postal address or email address. Another of your responsibilities, I'm afraid, as I said, is attending all of your taught sessions, submitting your assignments, attending your examinations. Again, if you can't attend an exam because you're not very well, there is a process that you can go through to submit mitigating circumstances and things like that. And I'm sure you'll be learning all about that from your courses. We also would ask that if anyone in the room does change their immigration category, so sometimes there might be students who are sponsored under Tier 4, but actually then become a dependent of their spouse or marry an EU citizen, so can change their immigration permissions that way. If that's you, again, please do let us know because we have to report that to the Home Office. And also, if you do wish to take a break or you do wish to stop studying, I hope you're not thinking about this already, but just in case, you do need to let us know. So as I've been saying, your visa, very, very tightly linked to the programme you're studying with us. This is why, as I said before, it's very, very important that if you are thinking about changing anything about your programme, so maybe you're thinking, I'd like to add an optional placement year or extramural year, or you know you're studying for a year and then you decide actually I need to take a break for a year. It's very important that you come and speak to the International Student Advice Team so that we can talk to you about what the implications will be to your visa. There is a process at the university that you would go through. There's a change of circumstances form online that you would fill in, but you're always welcome to come and talk to us beforehand and we can talk to you about what the process is as well. But as I said before, if you do want to change things about your course, there is a possibility that that would mean having to leave the UK and applying for a brand new visa, even if it's a change to a course with us. One of the things, so if you do submit this online change of circumstances form and you do want to make a change, it has to be approved by quite a lot of different departments from within the institution. So it has to be approved by your faculty. It also has to be approved by the visa compliance team. And my team have to confirm that we've had a conversation with you about your visa implications as well. So as I said, do come and talk to us about it if you're not sure how to proceed. This slide here does talk about the one and only way that you can change your course without having to apply for a new visa from overseas. And this is essentially if you want to do a course that is the exact same length, exact same level, and it represents what the UKVI define as academic progression. Now, the definition of academic progression in the policy guidance is about 4 pages long, so it's quite complicated. Every single student situation when it comes to changes will be slightly different, so this is why it's so important for you to come and talk to us so we can look at the 97 pages and we can work out what's best for you. One of the other things that I do need to highlight for students studying at degree level is that there are time limits on the amount of time you can study in the UK on a Tier 4 visa. So for undergraduate and master's students, the maximum amount of time you can study is 5 years. And that's not study time, that's actually the length of your visa time. If you are thinking, okay, I'm doing a 4-year degree, or I'm having to repeat a year and then I want to do a master's and this might take me over the 5 years, again, come and talk to us and we can talk to you about whether you meet any of the exemptions to these rules. So for example, PhD level is one of the exemptions. But it's just something to keep in mind in the back of your head, because if you've already been here for a few years on Tier 4 and you've got in your head that you want to do a particular course followed by another course, you might not be able to do it within the 5-year limit. So if you do have questions, come and talk to us. So I don't know if I mentioned before that your visa's easy to lose. Did I mention that? Yeah? Okay. I cannot emphasise enough how easy it is to lose your visa. My team spend a huge amount of time helping students who've lost their visas. This is why I'm emphasising this like mad today. If you do lose your passport and or your visa, this is basically the steps you'd have to take. You have to report it to the police. If you've lost your passport, you'd have to go to your own embassy to get a new passport. Different embassies have different processing times. I know certain embassies will take several weeks to do that. If you're in the UK and you've lost your BRP, you've got to fill in a form and then you apply for your new visa, paying the UKVI £56. If you're outside of the UK, then this might change. So maybe you decide, I'm going to go travelling, I'm going to go to Europe, I'm going to go to Barcelona and I'm going to put my bag on the beach and I'm going to go for a swim. You come back and your bag has gone. I joke, but this situation happens all the time. And if that's you, what would happen then is you'd have to do the first steps. You have to report to the police, you have to report to the UKVI that you've lost your visa. You'd need to get your embassy to issue your new passport, which might take a week or so. You then need to get the British embassy or the visa application centre in the country that you're in to issue you with a temporary travel document. It costs £169 and sometimes it takes 3 weeks for them to produce that. If you've just paid for a 1-week holiday to Barcelona, you're not getting that flight back to the UK. So very, very important to keep that visa safe, because you might get stranded in a European city for several weeks and you have to bribe your friends to stay with you rather than leave you on your own. So once you came back to the UK with your temporary travel document, you would then be required to pay an extra £56 to get your new BRP. So that entire holiday would cost you several £100s. Which is why it's very, very important that you keep that BRP, keep that visa safe, because we don't want this to happen to you. Obviously, if it does happen to you, I'm not kidding you. I gave this talk on Thursday, and by the end of the day, I had a student come up to me saying, I'm really sorry, Ruth, but I've lost my BRP. he'd only had it about 4 hours. So they're very, very easy to lose. Obviously, if this does happen to you, we can help you with this. We can support you through it, and we will do it with a smile on our face. But please, please keep that visa safe. How many of you thinking maybe you'll travel at Christmas or at Easter? Yeah, 1 or 2. Great. Why not? You've got your visa now, well, some of you do anyway, to be in the UK. If you want to travel, in theory, all you need to get back into the UK is your passport and your BRP card. Remember that BRP card is your visa. You must have both to get back into the UK. If you're travelling during term time or not during an official vacation period, so we sometimes have students who need to travel for a conference as part of their course or things like that, we would suggest that you actually get an enrolment confirmation letter as well. And you can either get that online, you can generate it yourself on your student record online, or you can go to one of the student services desks. Sorry, it does say the Compass there, but they're called the student services desk now, in any of the libraries, and ask them to produce one of those letters for you. I'll take questions at the end. So if you are going to travel, you can get one of those letters. You don't have to have one, but sometimes students just feel a bit happier with one of those because it proves that you are still studying with us. If you're thinking of travelling towards the end of your visa, the other thing that we would suggest you take with you is just your intention to leave the UK before your current visa expires, or your intention to apply for another visa. The other thing to mention about travel is just that obviously I'm talking about when you might travel. Best time to travel is during vacation periods, obviously, because you have to attend your classes as part of your visa. So if you do intend to travel during term time, it has to be approved by your course, so by your program. If you have any plans to do that, obviously if you're travelling on Friday night and coming back on Sunday, that's not a problem because you're not going to miss any lectures or classes or seminars. But if you are thinking of travelling at any other time during term time and it's not part of your course, you do need to seek permission from your personal tutor, from your programme leader before you do that. How many of you are thinking of maybe travelling to Europe, seeing as we're still close by and we are still part of Europe at the moment? Just the one? No, 2, 3? Okay, good. Why not? It's close by. Few things that I'd recommend if you're thinking of going to Europe. One is check whether or not you, as your nationality, do need a visa to travel to the European country you're going to. My team do run what we call Schengen visa workshops in end of October, November time for students thinking of travelling at Christmas. So do come to those. You can check all of the information out on our Facebook page. We'll post updates on when those are happening. I'm not sure I mentioned this, but you need to keep your visa safe whilst you're travelling to a European country. One of the things I would absolutely recommend, you need to get travel insurance in order to get a Schengen visa, if you have to get a Schengen visa. But I would absolutely recommend that when you're getting travel insurance, that you try to make sure that it will cover you for if you lose your visa. Because as I said, that whole process is very costly. So if you've got travel insurance that will cover that or cover you for changing your flights, that's quite an important thing. There's a few other sort of things on this page about taking precautions and making sure you stay safe. I would advise you to do that wherever you are in the world, not just in Europe, and in London as well. It's not to frighten you, it's mostly just because, as I say, we help a lot of students who either get their visas stolen or they lose them. How many people are thinking that they might get a part-time job whilst they're here? Great, quite a few. As I said at the beginning, your visa will tell you how many hours per week in term time you are allowed to work as a condition of your visa. The one thing I need to highlight today, well, there's two things really, but one of the main ones is term time is different depending on the type of program you're studying. If you're studying at degree level, so if you're doing a 3-year undergraduate or 4-year undergraduate, your term dates are on the university website. Usually for most undergraduate programs, you do get a summer vacation during which you might be able to work more than the 20 hours per week. But you need to check your individual program's term dates to make sure you're not supposed to be studying over the summer. For those of you who are in the room who are doing a 1-year master's program, unfortunately, you are in term time nearly all of the time. That whole summer period is still classed as term time because during the summer you're expected to be working on your dissertation, you're expected to be in the library, you're expected to be on your computer working on that dissertation. So the only time for you that's not term time is the Christmas vacation and the Easter vacation, and the end of your course as stated on your CAS, so after the 30th of September. For the PhD student, you're always in term unless you agree a vacation with your supervisor. So if you do get a job opportunity where you want to work more than 20 hours a week, you need to agree that with your supervisor as a vacation period first. For anyone on a Tier 4 visa, the end date is stated on your CAS. After that, you should have your 2 months or your 4 months, depending on the length of your programme. You should be able to work more than the 20 hours per week as long as you have finished all the taught parts of your programme after the end date as stated on your CAS. It's not when you submit your final assignments or sit your final exam, it's the end date stated on your CAS. The other thing that I do need to highlight, there is a restriction for Tier 4 students and working, which it's a bit grey, I'm afraid, but they say that you're not allowed to be self-employed. And what that means is that you can't do anything that involves sort of freelancing or where you're getting paid sort of cash in hand that you would then have to do your own tax returns for. If you're going to take on a job in the UK, you have to be employed by somebody who is paying you a regular salary, or you've got a contract, an employment contract with them. If you wanted to set up your own business here, or even if you wanted to set up your own business or you have your own business in your own country and you were going to do some work in the UK whilst you're studying for your own country, you're not allowed to do that on your Tier 4 visa. So it's very, very important that you understand these rules. Unfortunately, we do get a lot of students who want to do things like sessional musician or do a bit of babysitting and things like that. You can't do any of that because it's classed as self-employed, and you can't do that on your Tier 4 visa, I'm afraid. As I said, the rules around this are quite grey, so if you're not sure, come and talk to us and we can try and work out whether or not the job that you want to do would be included in this. And unfortunately, this includes paid and unpaid work, so your 20 hours does include unpaid work as well. Some of you, hopefully not yet, but some of you may be thinking at the end of your course you might need a bit of extra time to finish your course for whatever reason. Maybe you've got repeat study, maybe you need some extra time because of some mitigating circumstances or something like that. Again, the rules around who can extend their visa here in the UK are very strict. What we recommend is that at the end of when it's getting towards the end of your visa, so around 3 months before your visa expires, come and talk to us and we'll be able to talk to you about what your options are at that time. There's no point in me talking to you about that now because the immigration rules change 3 to 4 times a year, and so anything I tell you now will be out of date in a few months' time because usually there's a rule change in November. So if you do need to extend your stay, if you need to stay in the UK for an additional period of time, come and talk to us around 3 months before your visa expires. I talked to you earlier about how you need to keep us up to date with your contact details. You are also obliged to keep the UKVI up to date if any of your personal circumstances change. Hopefully no one in this room will get a criminal conviction, but if you do, you are obliged to report that to the UKVI. There's other things like if you get married or if you get a spouse, things like that, that you need to update the UKVI on as well. So if anything changes, come and have a chat to us if you're not sure if you need to change it with the UKVI or not. So I've talked a lot about how you can come and talk to my team, and these are some of the ways how. We have an online inquiry form, which I'm sure several of you in this room have already used. We do try to respond to inquiries as fast as we can. This time of year is incredibly busy for us, as I'm sure you can imagine. We also have an advice line. It's running right now, in fact, Tuesdays 1 till 3. We have lots of information on our website. We also run what we call drop-ins. A drop-in is a time period where you don't have an appointment, you just come, first served, so you might have to wait a little while. You'll see an advisor on that day. They'll be able to assess whether they can help you there and then, if it's a quick query, or if they need to book you in for a more extensive appointment, either on the same day or the next day. So at the moment we're just based at the Strand, but that's only until the end of September. From October onwards, we're on all 4 campuses, and the information about when and where those drop-ins are is on our website. So hopefully, if you need to see us, on any given day, you'll be able to find us on one of the campuses. And you'll be pleased to hear this is my last slide. I know it's a very exciting topic, but there's just a few useful websites. As I said, the bottom one here, our Facebook page, this is where we put all of our updates about any workshops we're running, work after study, Schengen, that kind of thing. And we also post information about different social activities that are happening that we know about. And our website, the website at the top there, the UK Council for International Student Affairs, that's a really useful website for international students studying in the UK. Lots of helpful tips and information there for you too. And the obligatory government website, which I'm sure is not that great to navigate, but is useful nonetheless. So, I hope that you've learned at least one thing today. Everyone's going, no. Keep your visa safe. Thank you very much for listening. I know it's not the most exciting of topics, but it is very nice to see you all, and I am very excited that you're here. So if you do have any questions, I'm going to be around at the end of the session, so you're very welcome to come up and ask. But other than that, you're free to run away and enjoy yourselves in something exciting. Thanks.